Hey everyone, it's Granny. I just wanted to touch base with you. Um, when I made my oops, I no longer had the video, the live that I did for Lindsay Clancy. And I really feel that it's important to discuss this case. It's very sad, a little bit graphic. Um, she is the mother who unalived her 3 children. Um, they were all young, very little, um, and is claiming that she had postpartum depression, even though she had been treated, was told she didn't have postpartum. Um, but obviously, there was something wrong with her. She was telling her husband that she was thinking of unaliving herself, that she thought she might harm her children at one point. She was on like 13 different medications. My goodness. Not all at the same time, of course, but um, yeah, she was on a bunch of different medications, usually 3 to 4, I guess, at a time. And what we're going to do is I'm going to share my screen because I've learned how, and we're going to listen to a part of Law and Crime's video that they did. I'm going to share it, borrow it, and that way you can get kind of the whole sense of what's going on. Um, and I just want to let you guys know that the material listed in this is graphic, so I'm just putting up a warning, okay? Um, so if you have children in the room, please have them leave. I don't want them to hear anything like this. And if you're don't want to hear things like this either, I understand. I completely understand. So let's go ahead and share the screen. Um, and we're going to
Clancy,
kind of start at the
Dawson
beginning.
Clancy, and Callan Clancy. On the morning of Tuesday, January 24th, 2023, the defendant took her 5-year-old daughter, Cora, to the pediatrician's for an appointment. She interacted with a receptionist, nursing
Kind
staff,
of
and a
explaining
doctor.
how Lindsay's
There were
day
apparently no
started.
issues with the defendant's demeanor or behavior as she completed the appointment and was allowed to leave with Cora without any issues or concerns. When she returned home, she went outside with Cora and her 3-year-old son, Dawson, to play in the snow. They built a snowman. The defendant sent photos to her mother and to the defendant, straight that to her husband. She texted with them. Nothing in the text was out of the ordinary or any sign of any distress.
And I just wanted to say something really quickly here. Um, I believe this is Lindsay Clancy's husband back here. And honestly, when I was watching this, it broke my heart. I can't imagine what that man is going through. So, any of you prayer warriors out there, please keep him in your prayers. This cannot be an easy thing for him. Um, it's not an easy thing for us to listen to. But what do you think? Tell me in the comments, what do you think of how her day started so far? What what are your thoughts about that? Okay?
Stress or trouble. Back inside later that day at 4:02 p.m., the defendant searched on her phone Kids Miralax. She then searched at Takeout 3V via her cell phone at 4:13 p.m. Immediately after doing that, she used Apple Maps on her phone to determine how long it would take someone to drive from her home in Duxbury to 3V Restaurant in Plymouth. So she would know how long someone would be gone if they ran that errand.
Isn't that interesting? that she determined how long someone would be gone.
She next went on the CVS website at 4:47 p.m. and then called CVS on Summer Street in Kingston. She spoke to the manager of CVS and asked if they had the kids' Miralax. The manager told her no, but they had other similar medications. According to the manager of CVS, her voice did not sound slurred or impaired in any way. She had no trouble understanding the defendant, and it was a perfectly normal conversation. At 4:53 p.m., the defendant texted her husband, who was working in his home office in their basement. She texted, "Any chance you want to do takeout from 3V? I didn't cook anything."
So my question is, some things do not make sense, some things make sense, right? Why is she sending her husband to the pharmacy to get like children's Miralax if she's thinking about unaliving her children? You know, this doesn't line up, does it? I mean, tell me what you think.
It's been a long day. This was an unusual request, as when the family ordered takeout, they'd usually go somewhere closer to home, but it was a place that they had been in the past. Patrick Clancy texted back yes, and then the defendant asked him to check the menu. At 5:06 p.m., the husband texted the defendant asking what she was going to get. She responded, "A Mediterranean power bowl." She spelled it correctly, and it was something that was on the menu. He then told her that he wanted the scallop and pork belly risotto. At 5:10 p.m., the defendant called 3V Restaurant to place the order. She got the order correct. She gave the correct name for pickup, Patrick. The hostess who took the call said there was nothing out of the ordinary about this call. She was able to understand the defendant, that her voice was not slurred or impaired in any way. At 5:15 p.m., Patrick Clancy headed out the door to run these errands at the defendant's request. As he left, she texted him Pedialyte liquid stool softener. Surveillance footage shows Mr. Clancy at CVS on Summer Street in Kingston at 5:32 p.m. He goes to the medication aisle, the children's medication aisle. Phone records show that he called the defendant at 5:33 p.m. and she did not answer the phone. She then calls him back at 5:34 p.m. and the call lasted 14 seconds. He's there at the store unsure of which medication to get, and she tells him exactly what she wants. He had no issues communicating with her. It was a completely normal call, although he did mention that she seemed like she was in the middle of something.
So he mentioned that she was in the middle of something. It sounded like to him. I guess this is my one question. Okay, she seemed lucid, she seemed fine. But why would she want him to pick this up? Honestly, why would she want him to pick this up if she knew what she was going to do? I don't understand that.
He is on surveillance footage during this time, exiting that aisle and appeared to be using his phone. He then heads to the register, makes his purchase, and leaves the store at 5:37 p.m. He's next seen on footage at 3V Restaurant at 5:54 p.m. He picks up the food and he's out of there within a minute. When he arrives home, the first thing he noticed was the silence. He did not see or hear the defendant or the children.
Well, that's very strange, isn't it? If you have 3 little children, one of them, the youngest is 7 months old, I believe, at the time, and I think the oldest might have been 6 or 7. Not exactly sure of the age, but you could see where they range. Those children are going to be making noise, right? There's going to be noise. He came home to silence.
He actually called her cell phone at 6:09 p.m. looking for them, and she did not answer. He went to their bedroom on the second floor and the door was locked. He was able to open it, and when he looked inside, he saw blood on the floor in front of a full-length mirror and the window open. He immediately runs downstairs and into the backyard, where he finds the defendant laying on the ground. She appeared to have cuts on her wrists and neck, but he stated to 911 that those wounds were no longer bleeding. She was conscious. He called 911. During this time, he asked the defendant, "What did you do?" She responded to him, "I tried to kill myself and jumped out the window." During the 911 call, Patrick can be heard asking the defendant, "Where are the kids?" He later told police that she replied, "In the basement." So immediately after this happened, she knew what she had done and she knew where the kids were. When EMS arrived, he asked them to stay with her so he could go find his kids. The 911 call kept going. Patrick can be heard on the 911 call entering the home and heading to the basement. At one point, he calls out, "Guys." He can then be heard screaming in agony and shock as he found his children. His screams seem to get louder and more agonized as the time passes. Cora and Callan were on the floor in the den area of the finished basement, which is to the left when you walk down the stairs, while Dawson was alone on the floor in his father's home office, which is to the right when you go down the stairs. Each child still had the exercise band that was used to strangle them tied around their necks when their father found them. Dawson and Callan were face down on the floor. Cora was on her side with her torso turned towards the floor. He removed the bands and begged them to breathe. He continued to scream uncontrollably and screamed for officers to come to the basement. The dispatchers are hearing this and they send help down to the basement. And when they encounter Patrick, he yells out, "She killed the kids." The police rushed the children to ambulances that brought them to the hospital. And unfortunately, Cora and Dawson were declared dead at the hospital. Callan was med-flighted to Boston Children's Hospital. Medical staff was able to restart his pulse, but not his brain activity. He was placed on life support for several days before passing away. The defendant was transported to South Shore Hospital and then to a Boston area hospital where she remains. She sustained several broken bones in her back and her rib cage. The police were able to find several notebooks in the defendant's home pursuant to a search warrant, and also notes on her phone that were similar to journal entries. In the month.
Okay. So very difficult to hear, wasn't it? So she, I mean, terrible thing, isn't it? They said she was lucid, but one of the things that they tell, especially when they're trying new medications, she was having trouble with a bunch of the medications that the doctor had given her. And one of the things that they tell you is to, keep a journal of what's going on, what you're feeling, and especially with her mental health, they decided that she should keep a journal of everything that was going on with how she was feeling, So she did. And the police found these journals and notes in her phone and all this kind of stuff. She is paralyzed from the waist down. She is still in the hospital. As far as I'm aware, I've not heard anything differently. Her husband is standing by her. He has made a plea to the public to ask everyone to please forgive her, as he has, that this was caused by postpartum depression, and he has forgiven her, which, you saw in that clip that he's in agony, right? I mean, he had to sit there and listen to all that, first of all, but he is in agony, and I feel awful for him. I feel so bad for him. I can't even imagine what he's going through, what her parents are going through, her family, his parents. They're the victims in all this, right? I don't know if you noticed when she's laying there, she's not, she's not moving her head or anything, which she has the ability to do. She's not hardly even blinking. And she's very stoic. I mean, she's not moving her facial expressions or anything like that. And so this is just such a difficult case. So she will be tried for all 3 of these, and I don't know when that's going to be, if they've set that date yet. I don't imagine it's going to be any too soon, because of her health. Yeah, so this is a very difficult case. We will stay in touch about this case. When things come up, I will let you guys know what's going on. I I think one of my shorts, I had said, the insanity plea. So we know that Letitia Stout is claiming insanity at the time of the tragedy with Gannon. So, and I mean, we don't know yet what Lindsay's going to do. But what are your thoughts on that? I really want to know, because do you think that this is a legitimate case for the insanity plea? Because she had put herself into a medical hospital. She had signed herself in. She was seeing psychiatrists. She was on medication. She was telling her husband. She was doing all of this stuff, trying to get better. And the thing is when you learn about her, everyone that talks about her says she was so loving. She was so kind. She was a nurse, and they said she was so kind and loving with her patients. She was kind and loving with everybody, that she was a wonderful mother. She was very patient, very kind, very loving, a wonderful mother. And then what happened? So tell me what your thoughts are. And I haven't done Letitia's case yet. I plan on doing that next. But I'm thinking, wow, what is happening here? Because is this a legitimate case for the insanity plea? Is Letitia still a legitimate case? What do you guys think? Let me know what you think, especially after you hear my story about Letitia Stout. And I'm sure some of you have already seen some of the stuff. Her trial is ongoing right now. We're hearing a lot of things come out. So just wanted to touch base about that and see what you guys think. All right. Have a wonderful day, and let me know in the comments what you think. And don't forget to like and subscribe. Thank you so much, and have a wonderful day. Bye.